The date is February 22nd, 2018. The location is the Yankee Air Museum in Belleville, Michigan. The time is 2:00 p.m. Today, the person being interviewed is Sarah Mae Hudson Moore. Sarah was born on March 6, 1926. Sarah worked at the American Lady Corset Company in Detroit, Michigan during World War II. This interview will be conducted by Claire Kitchen Dahl. This interview will be videotaped by Claire Kitchen Dahl. Observers present today are Diane Marsh, Larry Moore, and Tim Moore. This interview is being conducted on behalf of the Oral History Project at the Yankee Air Museum in Belleville, Michigan. Sarah, thank you for coming to the Yankee Air Museum today to share your memories of the World War II home front with us. The recounting of your experiences while working for the American Lady Corset Company are important for the accuracy of our national records. Please state your full name, including your maiden name.
Sarah Mae Hudson Moore.
When and where were you born? When?
In Tennessee, and I was born in March the 6th, 1926.
And what did you tell me about the smoking house where all the babies...
Oh, the smokehouse. It isn't a smoking house.
Oh,
it's a smokehouse. Well, when my dad slaughtered the pigs, the hogs, he would put them in the smokehouse, and then he would build the hams. He'd hang them up in the ceiling, and he would put a pot of hickory wood under it, and he would smoke the bacon and the hams.
And why does that have any connection to where you were born?
I really don't know, except that I remember that as what they did down south to cure the meat.
And were you born, I think one time you told me, on the salting table in there?
Yes, my mother delivered me on the table they salted the meat on. But they had it all clean.
Of course. So you were born in the smokehouse on the salting table. What was the name of your father?
Newberry Hudson.
And your mother was named?
Laura Mae Keel.
Good. And you had some siblings, right?
Yes.
And what were their names?
Oral Diane Marsh.
No, that's your daughter. What about your sisters?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ethel, Lorraine, and Yvonne, and then Wileen, and Christine, and Louise, and then there was me.
Okay, so we've got just girls in this family. The oldest was Ethel, the baby was Sarah. That's you, okay. Now, what were the occupations of your parents?
He was a farmer.
He was a farmer at White Oak, Tennessee.
Yes.
And your mother was?
She was just a housewife.
But just a housewife, she had a lot to do, didn't she?
Oh yes, she even worked in the garden and canned and did whatever she had to do.
Did you have running water?
Oh no, we had to draw water from a well, and she cooked on a wood stove, and it would have to keep it really hot to put the wood in to keep the stove hot enough to cook. But she cooked many a good meal on that. And every morning she would make biscuits with flour and salt and hog lard and for breakfast. And then my dad had to have oatmeal. So we lived to be 99 years old, and we say that that's what kept him going, because he worked hard and eat oatmeal and a good breakfast.
Now, you had no running water. She had to do all of that, and she also made your clothes?
Oh yeah, out of flour sacks.
Flour sacks. Were they scratchy?
Oh no, she washed them and boiled them in a big pot of hot water, and they were just like the best percale you could buy today.
Did you have jobs around the house, the sisters, you and the girls, to help her out?
I really didn't. I was the baby. But the rest of them had to work in the field. In the summer, they would get the weeds out of the corn. But at the end of the rows, there was a creek, and they all went swimming or fishing.
Now, that was the White Oak Creek?
Yes.
It was, okay. Now, what about going to church as a family?
Oh, my father was a deacon in the church, and it was a Cumberland Presbyterian church, and we had to go every Sunday morning to church. That was a rule, but we only had one minister to come every I think it was 3 or so many weeks, because he lived across the Tennessee River from us, and he would ride to the river, ride his horse across on a barge, and then ride his horse up to preach.
So he was basically a traveling minister, and
Yeah.
you had to go to church whether or not the minister was there.
Yeah, we had Sunday school every Sunday.
Now, did you ever go to the Methodist church in town?
Yes, we did. It was a ways from us, but when they would have special meetings, like revivals we called them, and my dad would put the 2 mules to the wagon, and the girls would fight over who was going to sit on the back and hang their legs down. But we took that, he did, to the Methodist church, and we went to church up there, the revivals.
Now, what about these play parties that you talked about?
I talked to you about it, but our parents wouldn't allow us to dance, but they would let us go to play parties. And my sister had a house, my sister Willeen, and it did not have any grass in the backyard, and they would sweep that off as clean could be, and there we would have our play parties.
And what would you do at a play party?
We just dance,
What kind of dancing?
just square dancing.
Square dancing, and your parents never knew about it?
No,
Oh my, oh my. How about Christmas trees? Did you have pretty Christmas trees in your
Oh, yeah.
house?
We would go up in the hills and pick up or cut down a Christmas tree and bring it down and put it up in the one room where it was our bedroom and a fireplace. And so we'd put it up in the corner. And on Christmas Eve, everything was quiet, and my mother would sneak out, and she would have a red sweater and a white top, and she would go out and knock on the window, ho, ho, ho. And there was Santa Claus, and then away he went.
Good for her. Isn't that wonderful that she still, in addition to all this hard work, still had enough time
Oh,
and
yeah.
energy to play and
Yeah.
have fun with all
She
of
did.
you?
She was a funny lady. She was full of just jokes. I mean, she was just a pleasant lady to be with, and a mother.
That's wonderful. So you had a good life in
Yes,
White
I
Oak,
did,
Tennessee.
yes.
Where did your mother's parents live? Were they nearby? The rest of your family?
I'm not sure where they lived, but she was from down toward Memphis, somewhere
Okay.
down that way.
All right. Now, what happened to this little log cabin that you lived in on White Oak?
Well, one evening we was all sitting around the fireplace, and my nephew Charles, he got up and he went in the kitchen to get an apple, and we didn't have any electricity, so he struck a match on the wall to see where the apples was, and evidently that started the fire on the wallpaper. But he never did know it. We never let him know it.
So the whole house burned?
At the kitchen and the dining room was afire before we saw smoke coming out into where we were sitting by the fire.
And we have a picture of that log cabin. All that was left, it looks like, is the chimney.
fireplace,
The
yeah,
fireplace
the chimney.
chimney is what's left. That's terrible. So then you moved to another house soon after that, and you told me there were 2 really great things about that house.
Well, we had bedrooms on each side, and then we had what they called a living room. And we thought that was great because we had a couch in it. We called it a sofa. And we just thought we was in another world with a sofa to sit on.
And this house had electricity too.
No, it
Oh, it didn't, it didn't.
No.
So it just had a sofa bed.
None of the houses had electricity that far up.
Now tell us about your schooling.
Well, I went to grade school, and it was where we had the church. I went to church, but during the week we had school. And we walked to school, And I finished the 8th grade there. And in the 8th grade, I was the smartest one in the class because I was the only one in the class. And then there was my sister's brother-in-law. He was in the play with me, and he said, oh, I had to say to him, oh, your pole finger. He had heard it, but I was supposed to kiss it, and it was so dirty I wouldn't kiss it.
Good for you. I wouldn't kiss a dirty finger either. Now, you said your teacher was Nettie Askew.
Mhm.
Now, what about Nettie? Do you remember?
Yeah, she was a nice lady, and she had to she drove a buggy with a horse down to the school every day. And like I said, it's a one-room schoolhouse. And when we moved out of the church, then we got into the schoolhouse. But I was the only one in my class, so every day after lunch, she would have me to come in and brush and comb her hair, and she would give me some money for it.
So did you like doing this?
Oh, yeah.
You were good at combing her hair. Is
I
that
guess
right?
I was. I
Sure.
did it for a long, long time.
Well, good for you. Now, you graduated then from high school?
Well, I graduated from the 8th grade to high school, and we had to ride a bus a good hour to but a high school there we went 2 years, freshman and sophomore. And then when I went to junior and senior, we had to ride at another hour, but I graduated from Aaron High School.
Good for you. Do you remember what year that was?
It was,
Or how old were you when you
I
graduated?
was 16.
16.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Now, so you've graduated from high school. Do you remember hearing about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I do. I was sitting in my sister's, and we were staying at her house, and I was sitting listening to the radio, and I heard that Pearl Harbor was attacked us.
Did you seem to realize that this was a big deal, that we now
Well,
were in trouble?
At that time, I just knew it was war,
Mhm.
and I didn't really realize how bad it would be until it really got into it.
Now, what got you to move from Detroit, from a White Oak to Detroit, Michigan?
Well, as the girls got of age and got old enough to leave home, my older sister and Yvonne would take us to Michigan, and we would all get jobs.
So Ethel was the first to move
Yeah.
as the oldest one. And then Yvonne went up, and then you went up with Yvonne.
Yeah, but my sister Christine, she wanted no part of it.
Right.
But then later in her life, she come up and she didn't like it here, but she went back home and got married, and that was the end of Michigan for Christine.
So really, it was Ethel, Yvonne, and Sarah who lived in Detroit all these years. And you and Yvonne got your own apartment or your own duplex. So
Yes.
you two roomed together.
Yes, we did. At first it was an apartment, and that's where I met my husband.
Well, I'll ask you about him in a bit. Let's just
Okay.
stay with the girls for a minute.
Okay.
How did you travel from White Oak to Detroit?
By train.
By train. How long, do you remember anything about that train ride?
Yes, took about 16 hours.
And did you have comfortable seats?
Well,
or-
it was during the war, and we had to stand by for seats because the servicemen got first place.
So you had to take what was available.
Yes, and sometimes we'd sit on our suitcases just to get on the train.
Good grief. What did your parents think about you guys moving to the north for the jobs or just away from Tennessee?
Well, they were proud of us because we were going to be making money, and there was no jobs.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, what about the American Lady Corset Company? Did you find this job on your own, or how did you get employed by them?
No, my sister Yvonne worked there, and when I first come here, I wasn't old enough to work any place, but I worked in an Eisner's dime store, and when I was 16, she got me a job down there, and at first I worked in the corset department, but I did just odd jobs there.
Well, what kinds of things did they make there?
Lingerie, bra, like bras and gowns and corsets, but it was called American Lady Corset.
So it really was an underwear company,
Yeah.
basically. And Yvonne already worked there.
Oh yeah, she was a supervisor.
And she did a good job?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So then you got your job because of Yvonne, basically.
But then she got me the job upstairs, and when I was 16, I got to go on the sewing machine.
Now, what was upstairs? What were
That's
you?
where they made the parachutes.
So basically, you're talking about a building that the first 4 floors were making lingerie and underwear.
Yeah.
And the top 2 floors were converted into war industry.
Yeah.
And what did you make up there?
Well, we made the big parachute and the little pilot chute.
A pilot chute.
And the pilot chute was the one that went on to the big chute. So if anybody tried to land and the big chute failed, they could pull the pilot chute and it would land them safely.
So now you were a sewer up there. You were on a sewing machine.
Yes.
And tell us about this process. How did you get how did these parachutes come to you? Did they come wrapped up in a ball, or did they just hand them to you, or what?
They had a trolley from the ceiling, and the big chutes would come down to your machine, and they would hang, and you had to turn the chute around as you sewed the tabs on.
And what is in a tab? What tab were you sewing?
It was a reinforcement for the pilot chute to go on to the big chute.
So you were first of all sewing the big chute, the tabs, and then when this would rotate as you sewed to it, almost putting a tab in every seam,
Yeah,
then you started with a pilot chute?
yeah. I made the tabs for the pilot chute.
Okay.
I didn't sew the pilot chute, but they would come down to me, and then we would have to put that in, the big chute, and then it would go down to the next person.
Was it hard to do this?
No, I did it. I don't know if just automatically did it.
Did you get a lot of training?
No, I knew how to sew on the sewing machines, so they showed me how to do it, and they had a time study. You know what that is?
Yes.
Well, they would sit at your machine and see how fast you could sew and do things. And then if anybody else come on the job, they expected them to do the same thing. So everybody says, just take your time, be slow. If the machine happens to break down, it could be your fault, and just let it not be your fault.
So did you ever feel that the line went too fast, or that you were being rushed?
No, it wasn't a moving line.
Oh, okay.
No, we had to go by cords to pull one machine to the other machine.
So you were always able to control the speed yourself, and everyone was saying, take your time, because we're
Right,
all in
right.
on this together. Unbelievable. So the pilot chute was wrapped up inside the big chute when you were done?
Somehow it was connected to the big chute.
Okay.
And it had a cord. If that person landed, they could see they wasn't going to land safely. They would pull that cord, and then the little pilot chute would. And I'm in assisted living, and there's a fella in there, and he used the pilot chute.
So who knows, maybe your
So
pilot chute saved his
That's what
life.
they told him. Maybe it was your pilot chute that saved his life.
So Sarah, did you ever think that you would be sewing parachutes?
Oh, no. No, I didn't. No.
And then once a parachute left your station or your area, what happened to it?
They moved it down to a long table, and they folded it a certain way, because it was huge, and they had to fold it and put it so it would be able to fit in some kind of a bag.
So you were the sewer. From you, it went to folding, and then from then, who knows what happened to
Right.
it. Did men sew also? Or were just basically
No,
women
no.
as your sewers?
Just mostly women, but men were like supervisors.
So you worked with men and women in the American Lady Corset Company. Now, what about payday? You mentioned something that you and Yvonne used to do.
Oh, we would get paid on payday, and right away we would go to the bank, And she would make me put away so much money every payday. And when I got through working after I got married, I had enough money in this box to buy a little, I think it's acres of farm down in Tennessee. And that's where my mom and dad lived for a long, long time.
So you and Yvonne worked all week. On paydays, you would save some of your money. Did you do anything else with your money? You saved
Well, yeah.
everything, or what?
Yeah, we would go downtown every Friday evening, and we'd go to Sanders, and then we'd go to Sam's. It was a big store then, really huge in downtown Detroit. And there we would just shop till we dropped.
And what was Sanders?
It was an ice cream place.
So-
They had the best hot fudge sundaes you ever eat.
So you worked all week, then you went and treated yourself to a hot fudge sundae and some shopping. You saved your money, a good deal of money. And did you ever purchase war bonds?
Oh, yeah. I did one a week.
Do you remember how much you were paid?
The bonds?
No, well, the bonds were how much your paycheck was?
No, I don't.
Okay, but you really did a very, very responsible thing with your money. You didn't blow it away.
My sister was like a mother to me, and she made me do these things.
Good for her. Good for Yvonne. That's what we want. Did you, let's see, did you feel that you were paid fairly, even if you can't remember how much you were paid?
Well, at that time, we thought we was doing great. And then really we was paid by our piecework. So sometimes you'd have a bigger check one week than you would maybe the last one or the next one.
Good for you. Did they ever give you time off if you were sick or
Oh, yeah.
anything?
Yeah, we could take vacations and sick leaves.
Right. So it felt like it was a wonderful place to work.
Yeah, we had no unions at that time.
How long a day, every day did you work?
We were allowed to work 10 hours.
10 hours. Was it dirty or cold or hot or?
Well, in the building,
Mhm.
it was medium. It was a pleasant place to work.
All right, good. Did you buy a lunch there?
No, we had to take her lunch.
What kinds of things did you bring most of the time? Do you remember what you packed?
I don't know, but probably a bologna sandwich.
Bologna sandwich, okay. Now, you mentioned your husband before, but let's talk about him right now. His name was Louis Larry Moore, and how did you meet him?
Well, there was two of my lady friends from high school. They come up and stayed with us, but they went to work at Turnsted's, and my husband worked at Turnsted's, and then one of his boyfriends worked at Turnsted's. So they come over one night and had a date with my friend Pauline and Margaret, and that was it. And then a few days later, my husband, or Larry, called me and wanted me to go out with him. And I had to get permission from my sister Yvonne before I could go.
That's right, because we know she was running a tight ship.
Yeah.
She was in control of you, in control of your money, and in control of your social life.
Yeah, but we went to the movie at the Lincoln Theater on 4th Street. That was it was a big, big theater at that time. And we went there to the movies, and that was the first meeting I ever had with him.
And that was the beginning of a good relationship. So now tell us about your engagement and your wedding.
Well, he was in service, and he called me.
What branch of the service was
He
he?
was in the Navy,
Okay.
and he was stationed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he was on a ship or boat, and he called and proposed to me on the phone. So I said, I'll have to think of it, or about it. So then a few days later, he called and said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, we'll have to you come up here and we'll have a good talk. So that was it.
Good for you. Did you ask Yvonne if you could marry him?
No.
Oh. So this was one decision you made totally on your own. You
Yeah.
did it with him. Hooray. And then when you said yes, what happened? Where were you married? In Detroit?
No. I went to Tennessee because I had bought, with the money I'd saved, the farm. So I went there, and we went to Erin, and Judge Spencer, that was his name. We went to Judge Spencer, and my nephew Charles, he was the one that stood up at our wedding. And we got married there, and then we took a bus up to his mother-in-law's, and there was a crossroads there, but the bus went on the highway, and we had to walk to her house. And we walked, I don't know how many, but it was a good 3 miles, I guess.
So your honeymoon was walking to your mother-in-law's house. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, after you were married then, where did you two live? Or he went back to Fort Lauderdale?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go with him?
No. He stayed, we went up to, we stayed in a house in Tennessee for, I don't know how long, but we stayed there. Then he had to go back to Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I went back to, come back to Michigan.
So did you ever live in Fort Lauderdale with him?
Yes, he found a duplex on A1A, and we rented the duplex. And my friend Pauline, she decided she wanted to come down. So she come down, and we both got a job at the Florida Power and Light Company. And there we both worked.
Good.
And it was a huge place, but I was a mechanic's helper. And little did I know about what to get when I had to go to the crib to get tools for him.
Now, when was Larry discharged from the Army? And he had been in the Navy, right? Had he seen any service? Did he see action in Europe or any place?
Oh, no. The farthest he went was to, I think, across the ocean to the Bahamas.
Okay, so he was
No.
fairly safe through the war, so you didn't worry about him as much as many other women had to at this point. Now, so Diane was born in Dixon, Tennessee,
Right.
in 1946. So when did you get back to Tennessee? And, tell about her birth.
Well, that was in Tennessee.
Okay.
But she was born in Dixon, Tennessee, and he come up, and we had to kind of wait for the delivery. So he stayed in a hotel down the street from where she was born, and it wasn't in a hospital. But she was born there, and then when I could come back home, well, they had someone to come and pick me up.
So you had somebody who took you from the farm to Dixon and waited for Diane to be born, and then you came back to the farm by
Yeah.
car
And
with
my
a
dad
newborn.
come up, he said, I'm going up there regardless. And he hired somebody to come by, bring him up, and he sat by my bed while I was waiting for Diane to be born.
Isn't that wonderful? I hope he got all of his oatmeal while he was there, because we know that's what kept him growing strong the whole time. All right, and then after Diane was born, you and Larry came back to Michigan. How come? What job did Larry have up here? Do you remember who he worked for?
Yeah, he worked for Ford's.
For Ford's in Kaiser Fraser?
No, he didn't work for
He
Kaiser
didn't.
Fraser at that time. That was when she was still a baby.
Okay.
But then we come back to Michigan, and we,
You came back by train?
oh yeah, it took, I think, 36 hours.
Just
took
you
a-
and a newborn baby?
Yeah. But we stayed with where Yvonne did. But
Okay.
we had an upstairs apartment, and she had downstairs. So we had the upstairs apartment.
You and Larry and Diane. And then did you start to work someplace?
No.
Okay. Now, did you ever work for Kaiser Fraser?
Oh, yeah. But that was after, Diane was born, and then Larry was born.
Okay, Larry was born in 1949.
But we moved to a mobile home park in Ypsilanti. And so I started to work at Kaiser Fraser
Okay.
because it was just across the highway in a field over there.
Right. Were you living in the Willow Run Village or the
No,
Willow
no,
Village?
No. We had a mobile home, a small one, but we enjoyed that little mobile home, or trailer, I guess, and we would take it in the summer out to the lake, and we would stay there during the summer.
And we have a picture of that little trailer.
Yeah.
So it started off as your house and then it became your vacation resort.
We
right?
lived in it.
That's fabulous, really. Now, you worked at Kaiser Frazer during the Korean War. What did you do there?
Well, I started in the sewing room, but it was automotive, and then I transferred over to aircraft.
Now, what were you sewing when you were working at Kaiser Frazer?
Upholstery for the cars.
Good, okay. And then you moved to the, what did you say, the planes or the automotive or?
And we moved over from there, we moved from sewing, I went to aircraft.
Aircraft, okay. And what did you do there?
I was a mechanic's helper again.
Again, you were once again told to hand over tools or something. But what did you really do then? What was your job?
I had to follow the mechanics around, and if any plane had a problem, like in the tail of the plane, and they would go back, and then if they would check it, and if I saw that it was a problem where they were checking, I would turn my little red light on, and they would know that that's where they had to fix it. And I think that's where Rosie the Riveter come in to maybe rivet inside those in the airplane.
Yeah, well, riveters had to rivet and buckers had to bucket,
Yeah.
but you were just checking the tail lights and the nose lights at that point. You had something, a little machine? In the cockpit.
Mm-hmm. And the guys would stand out in front, and if they told me to do whatever in the cockpit, I would, if it didn't work, I would flash a light, and then they would know that's where it was to be repaired.
Now, did you get a lot of training for this job too?
No.
So in all of your jobs, they just trusted that you knew what to do.
They thought I had sense enough to do it.
Well, good for you, and that shows why you were Nettie SU's best student, right? You were always smart and head of the class. What do you remember of living during these war years in terms of any hardships or any compromises you had to make in your households?
Oh yeah, we had to just watch what we spent money for, and that was it.
Do you remember any rationing of things?
Oh yeah. We were only allowed so much sugar, so much flour, or whatever we needed.
Did you own a car during World War II?
No,
You didn't. So when you had to travel, how did you travel?
we took a bus, but the first car we ever had was I think it was a Nash,
Okay.
and that was, I don't remember what year that was.
All right, but you had a car at some point.
I couldn't drive, so my nephew Charles learned me to drive in the alleys in Detroit, and from one street to the other, because you had to stop, before you went out into the main street.
That's a good place.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to go around the garbage cans and
Oh,
things,
yeah.
but it's a perfect place to learn how to drive. Now, did you have other family members in the service besides your husband, who was in the Navy?
Yes, my Yvonne, the one I was staying with, her sister was in the Army,
Okay.
and he was in fighting. I mean, he was there fighting, and
What was his name?
Dudley.
Okay.
She married Dudley Patterson, and but he was in the when he got out of service. Why, they moved to Tennessee.
Okay. Now, what about Charles, who was your nephew who was at the wedding?
That was Yvonne's son.
Okay.
Charles.
And he was in the service also?
Yes, he was. He was in the Navy.
Good, good. And how about Christine? Was she married? Did she have anyone in the Army or anything?
Yes, she did. She married John Mills Sykes, and he was a prisoner of war in a prison camp, and he eat potato peelings or whatever he could eat. And they were in this cold, damp cement basement or somewhere.
Where was he? In what country?
He was in
Germany?
No.
No. Japan? You don't know where. But he was a prisoner of war
Yeah.
for 5 years?
Something like that.
All right, well, it's,
He come home and he was just bone, skin and bones. He wasn't, and he had TB, and he was in a wheelchair, and he could overcome anything, but he would not want to talk about his time when he was in the prison camps.
I can understand that. And I think many people didn't. We're finding that with all of our World War II vets. Many don't talk about the whole thing.
And he had to take a shot for his sugar, and every morning he'd get up and pull his pants leg up. And I says, "How do you do that, John?" He said, "If your life depended on it, you would do it too."
I think that's true.
Yeah, it would.
So you had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
Diane, we talked about, she was born in 1946 in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Larry, born in 1949 in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And your 3rd child was?
Ruth.
Ruth. And where was Ruth born?
She was born in Bar Hospital.
And where is that?
It's in Ypsilanti.
It's in Ypsilanti, so that was when you were working up here in Kaiser Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me about some story of the Lincoln Continental.
Oh, that was a few years later. And I worked at the plant in Wayne one time. And then I was laid off, and they called me back when they started the plant to make the Lincoln Mercury out at it's Wixom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a long ways. We had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get out there and get to work, start. And but I ended up, started in the sewing room there, and then I ended up in Department 85, which was where the cars go out. You have to have them all clean. And there was a little lady, her name was Lucille, and she wasn't any bigger than I was. And they would call us little bits.
So,
And all we had to tiptoe and stretch to get the windshields clean, or get to the top of the Lincolns or Thunderbirds or whatever. And we would hurry up and get our job done. And then we had 2 big 5-gallon stands with pads on them, and we would hurry up and sit on that. And one day the plant superintendent come back, and he stopped and he said, "You know, you girls are sitting on a lot of money. If you would get up from there and look around, you could turn in a suggestion and make money." But we'd rather sit on the can.
good for you. So you were the cleaning or the washing crew for the Lincoln Mercury, right? Was there something special about the Lincoln Continental Mark IV?
Yeah, it was the pilot Lincoln, and Lucille and I worked on that, and I helped clean the first Mark IV that was ever built. And then after that, they put it on the line, but it was so big, oh my goodness. But it went out to road test, and they checked everything out for how it, engine and windshield wipers or whatever. But it had to be spotless before the final inspection. We called it final car okay, would okay it to go out to the dealer.
So you've had quite a career when you start thinking of American Lady Corset, and then you've also worked on the airplanes at Willow Run, the Kaiser Fraser line. You worked with the Mark IV. You've done a little bit of everything. No
Right.
wonder they called you Little Bits, right?
I guess so.
Now, have you talked about your wartime experiences with many people? Do lots of people know that you are a Rosie the Riveter because you worked in the defense
No,
plants?
just family, I guess.
Do you know why you didn't talk about it, or did it never come up?
It didn't mean anything.
But when you were actually doing this during the war, sewing those parachutes, were you aware of how important that was
Not
to your
really,
country?
no.
It was just a job, something you were doing. You were proud of it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your days at American Lady Corset Company?
Not
Can you
that I
think of
know
anything else?
No, not that I know of.
Anything else you'd like to add to your record that we're videotaping?
Well, when I was sewing at Kaiser Fraser, there was a older gentleman, and he was a mechanic, a machine for my machine, and he would come and take care of the machine. And one day he said, you know, I live in Belleville, and I'm selling my house. So I come home and I told my husband about it, and he wanted, it was a 2-bedroom house, but it had a bathroom and a living room and a kitchen and dining room together. And he wanted, I forgot, but it was, I think it was about less than $5,000 or something. So we bought it, and then we moved there, and from then on, that's where we lived.
So you've been a resident of Belleville since you bought your house then?
Yeah, but after we lived there for a while, we added on to the back a big family room and another room for a utility room. And then later on, we added a bedroom that Larry slept in, a breezeway bedroom, and then we added a 3-car garage.
Well, then you really did, let's say, put down roots in Belleville. The house kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but my husband would venture out and don't worry about it, we'll pay for it, but it got really rough sometimes.
I bet it did. But you were strong, and you had lived through the Depression, you lived through the war years, so of course you would be able to do it. And you were always a saver of your money, so I'm sure you were always very responsible with your funds.
Yeah, but he didn't let the 3-car garage stay very long. He put a business in it. He put a taxidermy business in. So it turned into a business, and that's where it was. When he passed away, my son-in-law, ex-son-in-law, he took it over, and we let it go then.
Okay. Well, Sarah, we are so appreciative of your taking the time to share your experiences of working in the defense industries during World War II. Primary documentation is vital to any understanding of the history of that war. With your stories and firsthand knowledge of the home front during 1940, our national narrative will be more complete, honest, colorful, and accurate. Thank you for giving your strength and patriotic energy to America and for doing your part to help win the war. You have made a difference in this world, and you are truly a heroine. You should be very proud to be called a Rosie the Riveter.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could help you.
You did. Thank you.